I promise you, my talk is not going to put you into sleep, at least not until the first 10 slides. After that, I don't know. Okay. So today, I'll be talking about scaling test automation. This is our personal journey. When I was given a stage, an opportunity to talk something, I really wanted to present something that's fancy, that's related to the present world of keywords like AI, ML, because that's what is being sold in the market right now. But this is also my last talk for the next 2 to 3 years to come, as I'm planning something on my professional front. And this story, this journey, has made me what I am today. It helped me and my team to grow together. And I wanted to really share this story. It has nothing related to the AI or ML or anything, but it is all about how we changed the whole test automation journey from being a zero, a team which was in a verge of being fired, to back on track, make it efficient, make it work. And I could do it with my team because they supported me, they believed in my thought process, and they believed in my vision. And this story is very close to my heart, which I'm going to share with you all. All right. Before we head, how about we look at some statistics? 43% of testing teams abandon their UI test automation within the first 3 years. And nearly 75% of the testing teams have not seen any return of investment on their test automation projects. These are not just numbers. If you see closely, this is actually the challenge that we are facing in our testing industry. Many teams adopt test automation, but they fail to see the results that they want to see, or they convince to see their business. The problem is much deeper. The test automation is supposed to free up testers' time so that their valuable time can be put into something that's more important, something that's more critical. Their cognitive skills are a lot more important than doing the same rut of doing the same regression, same button, same clicks. No. But it's not happening that way practically, isn't it? Probably let me take a moment to see how many of you can confidently say our test automation has been yielding us good results since we have started. Very confidently. 1. Yeah. So now you can connect with me to say, I'm not exaggerating, it's true. We are all stuck in a rut or some challenge, some problem where we lack confidence or we lose efficiency at some point in time. This is also my story. But moving ahead a little bit about me, I am Sowmya Sridharamurthy. I live in Amsterdam with my family. I'm a mother of a 10-year-old. I work for a company called Kiva. I run the entire engineering spectrum from the backlog to the development to the testing to the pipeline to the delivery and the infrastructure management. So I run a very huge team. And thanks to my team, they support me day in, day out. They are a wonderful team. When I'm not working, I join my hands with a volunteer group called Bridge the Gap. We connect with the college students and see their theoretical knowledge, how much is it matching with the industry knowledge. We try and guide them in the personal projects that they should be doing, because what they learn in theory is not actually what they put practically when they come to the company or when they get hired. So that's something that I do. It's very close to my heart, and I continue to do that. When I'm not doing any of these, I love gardening. I love running. I love reading books. So that's a little bit about me. Going forward, so this story that I'm going to share you starts with a team which had 2.5 years of test automation journey. They were building an enterprise application. So they had marketing, finance, sales core, I think 2 other modules, and each of these modules being run individually as a project. Right? So it is run by a project manager, not by an engineering manager. So it was a typical project management run software project. And this company was not organically software company. Their main business was retail. So that's how they used to earn money, but they had an IT wing to support their retail business. So that's what this team was. From the time I started my journey with automation, I have always worked in the greenfield projects. So starting everything from the ground up, writing everything from the scratch. And I have seen automation work wonders and help us because everything was built from scratch. We had a vision, we had a strategy, we knew what is do's and what are don'ts, and we had boundaries. Everything was clearly defined. But I had never handled a team which had already built test automation framework and had a very bad reputation of something not working. Business had given up, and yeah, the tests were also not giving them the return on investment. In fact, the company had invested a lot of money on licenses, on certifications, on people training programs and whatnot, but yeah, it didn't work. So when I joined this team, my briefing given was, Sowmya, we want you to move into this team to ensure that all the 13 test engineers are slowly let go. We dissolve the team, we scrap the test automation project, and then we will outsource it to India and hire testers there because it's also going to be lesser cost. And we are also giving 24/7 support for testing. So this was a briefing given to me when this team was handed over to me. I knew it's going to be a very stressful work because letting go of people is not an easy task to do. And also scraping the project which was being run for the last 2.5 years. It's a lot of effort, a lot of money, a lot of energy, a lot of dreams that has gone behind it, and everything needs to be scrapped. I had to take up, there was no option to saying no. But then there was one deal that I struck with my business team that you have to give me at least 60 days to really understand the whole journey of this team, where they started, what was their vision, how they landed to the situation where they are today. What are the pain points? What are the pros? What are the cons? I really want to understand before I actually go ahead and letting go of people. Business agreed to this. So my first 60 days, I put my foot down to really understand everything about this team. Not just test automation, also about testing, the kind of end users, how the project was managed by the project manager, what was his vision when it comes to the testing. Well, it was not a great one either. But so few things that I gathered was the team had a test mantra that everything should be tested. Nothing should be left. And when we do the test automation, it has to run in every single system. They had TST, which is a test system, they had a UAT system, they had a demo system, they had an education system, they had a POC system, and then they had a sales system. And they wanted to run this enterprise application in all these infrastructure, in all these environments, because they wanted to reduce the human effort in testing in each of these environments whenever there is a deployment happening. And like I said, each of these modules were run by a project manager. So it was run in a proper project management style, individual components. Nobody was talking to anybody, decentralized team. So everybody had their own agenda of coming up with how a testing should look like and what are their test strategy, how the test script should be written. Everybody had their own set of custom codes being written. It was a chaos. And when it comes to the investment, purely from a licensing perspective, the company had spent around 360K. Not the monthly salaries and the training and development and all other benefits that the company is going to give. That's going to be for an year somewhere between 720K to 850K, in that range. But that's not included here. It's just purely for the test automation purpose. The company that had invested was around 360K. That's a whopping amount. So if we are going to scrap, the company is going to let go of 360K. That was a big pain point for the business and the finance team, but they were ready to do it. From a business perspective, they had done all investment that is possible. They had given money at the right time. They had given all the help that was possible, but they are not seeing any result. Whenever there is a release or the delivery that has to happen, the team again had to get back manually in front of the system. They had to test every critical scenario, and that's when they used to build their confidence and say, yeah, probably we can release marketing today. Yeah, okay, I think we can release finance component today. So that was the scene in the team. But when you look at the testers, what was the testers feeling? They were a highly motivated, highly skilled test engineering team. No complaints about that. Everybody was awesome. There were, I think, nearly 8 automation engineers, and every single person was super skilled in the team. But they were so focused technically to fix the issue. Okay, let me execute. Okay, something is failing. I'll fix it. Okay, again, I'll execute. I'll fix this. So they were so focused on getting this automation fixed and developed and execute. They weren't thinking anything beyond this. They were cooped in the thought of making this work somehow. And they were stuck there. After the 60 days, I did a clear pros and cons, a business report, talking to our finance team, saying that, hey, I have done my analysis. There are some great things that we have to leverage. Of course, there are cons which can be fixed. The main things, the team was self-motivated. They were ready to turn things around, give their 200% to make this work. All they needed was a direction, which way to go, what we have to do. Why are we stuck in this rut? How can we come out of this? So they wanted a fresh perspective. The project management way of working wasn't working for them, and it was very clear, right? Testing cannot run that way. It is not a rut job. It's a creative field. You have to think. And then they were open to realign. They were open to accept new ideas. They showed less resistance in saying, no, 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 we do not want to do that or do this. They were open to all fresh ideas, which was a pro. But there were few cons, like they were working in decentralized way of working, no common approach in communication. They had a flawed test strategy right from the beginning, like the idea of we'll test everything and anything in every system is too much. That's like a project manager thinking, I am investing so much money, I will squeeze the most out of you. That's a business way of thinking, right? But that's not how we get the results. Quoting my friend, Lavina Ramchandani in the morning's talk, she was talking about thought leadership. And it so nicely gives me a segue of that topic here, that when you are a team leader, all you have to display is a thought leadership. You need to give a different direction, not follow the same market standards of, okay, let's follow the test pyramid. Unit test should be bigger, E2E should be smaller. Yeah, okay, and then what? But how? Even the teams who are following the test pyramid are failing to generate results. But you needed a fresh perspective on your approach, on your thoughts, on how you want to run the team. And that thought leadership put me into thinking of a house of quality. I fell back on my basics learning that I learned from my first company called SAP. Whatever I am today, I owe it to them. My pedigree of testing comes from that company. It's a German-based ERP company. They had one of the best testing skills, trainings, and everything. So house of quality is a concept in my mind that I always build. It is to understand your team and see where they are missing. What is a fundamental aspect? What is a baseline for them? What are the main pillars to keep them running? And how do you build the roof of quality around it is an approach. And this may change for every team here. I'm not saying copy what I'm showing today, but use this as an inspiration to see how you can draw a house of quality for your team. For this team, it looks something like this. Governance was the base. The moment you work in a silo, the moment the teams came up with their own way of working, own way of automation, own way of test coverage, they were already failing. There should be a unity, especially when you're working for a business enterprise applications. Business enterprise applications starts at one point, and data get morphed at every stage, and finally it reaches the end, closing the loop of that entire business flow. And every team has to work in sync. They have to shake hands. That was missing. When the foundation is not good, no matter how strong your pillar is, it's going to fall down eventually, at some point. And exactly happened to this team. So when you see, everything was cracked. And the day came when the house of quality was supposed to be demolished, and that was my job in that team. Except for tools. Usually that's not the story, right? When you go into a company, you usually hear test engineers complaining, oh, my manager is not approving for that tool, they're not approving for this certification, they're not approving for that license. Usually that's the case. But this was the story the other way around. They had all the tools necessary, they had taken all the trainings as possible, but somehow the other aspects wasn't coming together. So the first thing I wanted to fix was the governance. And we came up with a centralized team where I was a test manager for that team. And then, okay, let me go to the next one. I was a test manager for the team, and there would be one person representing every component, every module, from HR, from marketing, from finance, from sales course, probably from other components as well. And then we will define a centralized, common nomenclature, a project structure, or our naming conventions, how our test cases should look like, how our communication to the business should look like, how our communication to our colleagues should look like on a day-to-day basis. So basically, we built a common theme song. And I picked this idea from a book of Mongols. He's a famous Mongol king. He, whenever wanted to pass an important message from one place to another, he used to train his soldiers on a standard set of songs. And all they was changing was words inside the song. But the song, tune, and rhythm would remain the same. Only the thing they used to change every time, according to the message, was the wordings. And in this way, every soldier was so efficient that whenever they had to deliver the message, nothing was written, everything was memorized. It was easier for them to memorize because they knew the tune, only they had to do was change the words within it. Now, with the governance, we did the same. Everybody in the team had to know the template. They had to understand what type of communication they should do. When they sit in front of a system to write the test, how they should name the test script, how they should implement an interface, how they should implement an object, class. Everything was defined by this central team. And everyone had to follow this one. So we agreed on this. We worked on this for almost 2 months. We came up with a Bible of testing for the team. And we said, we trained everyone saying that you have to follow this, fall back on this, and follow whatever is written in this book together. But we had representatives from each of these components, so it was a combined effort, not just saying by me, but it was a group effort. So thanks to my team who also participated, and we built this together. With this, we were able to share the responsibility. We were able to clearly do the knowledge sharing between the team. And most importantly, we were able to aggregate the data from different teams and communicate with business. That was the main thing that was missing. When it comes to the test strategy, that was a spread the team had. It's not bad if you see. They had a lot of unit tests, integration tests, E2E tests, so many tests, and even E2E tests like around 2,000. For the first 1.5 years or 18 months, team invested a lot of time in layering the application and writing so many tests. But at some point, our project managers decided, oh, we are spending a lot of money. This is a waste of money. Why are we are not able to see the results. Why are we even investing in unit tests? Stop it. Put everything onto the E2E tests, because everything is anyways going to bubble up in onto the UI, right? So let's test everything in the UI, which we already know is a very wrong approach, but what can we say about the project manager, yeah? That's their way, because for them, everything is a time and material. I'm using your time, how much you're billed, what is your resources use, and that's what they're going to show to the business, correct? So, it was also important that I show some visual models when I discuss with my business. So I picked up, when I plotted this one and I picked up the close I could match, it was something called a hammer model. Our present structure of tests based on the number of spread of tests in each layer was something like this. It looked something like this. I am not judging or I am not saying hammer model is a bad model. But when I plotted this onto the graph, it looked something like this. And it just made me easy to communicate with the business and give it a name. It registers in their mind. So I call this as a hammer model. And this is not a term given by me. It's already there in the internet. So we decided to revamp the structure, but we can quickly go through this slide. I also negotiated for more budget, more time, and we had a very rough plan how we're going to go ahead. There was an entire business case of 20 pages that I had written, how we're going to approach it, what are the risks identified, where we may miss, what extra support, what are the plan B, plan C, everything that is put in that business case, while asking for an additional money to revamp this test. And quickly together as a team, we decided we needed an overall view of how we approach and change the E2E tests. The first thing we all decided, we'll keep one automation structure, right? We'll scrap all other frameworks that you have, one framework to go ahead, common folder structure, and we are following the E2E based on the data that we will get from the data team. How many of you have a data team in your company who can help you to see or show the heat map of the application usage? One. Very few. How many of you work very closely with the functional consultants who actually go and help implement, solve problems, do customer support? Very few. Okay. How many of you have access to the production monitoring systems? Okay, this is slightly better. 10 hands I can see. That gives me a hope. So we had a data team. That was the best part in the story. And we decided we'll fall back on the data team. We will check with them which parts of the applications are used heavily, which parts are not used. So we will eliminate the tests which are not pretty much tested or touched upon, and only focus on the one which is heavily used. We will derive the test scenarios based on the heat map, which buttons are used more, which forms are interacted more. Based on this detail, we will come up with our own business scenarios and map as an end-to-end tests. We will have our own common folder structure. And because we had agreed with the business that we will show every milestone, how our progress is going, because they were skeptical that this is going to work, we had to deliver things in a phased approach. So we had to figure out every phase, what goes in each phase, and what is the value that the business is seeing in every phase. This is very important that we communicate with them. And finally, we continue to run our agents. We will continue to run our automation every day. We had a big monitor in the company where everyone could see how the tests were running, how many failed. It was a bloodbath. Everything was always red, but we wanted to keep it. So it keeps us as a reminder that it is very important that we work on this. Or otherwise, everybody's fate is decided in next 8 months to come. So we went to the data team, and we asked, OK, this is an example flowchart, if you see. It's a sales process. I couldn't get approval from the previous company to put the actual flow here, but it looks 95% something similar with a little bit of 1 or 2 additional steps here. We went to the data team with this, and they asked, hey, can you show me which of these steps are used heavily, which of these are used sparsely? And there was one question that the data manager asked me. OK, we can give you. Can you tell me for which user profile you're looking at? That was a eureka moment for me. Which user profile? Good. What does it mean? Then I went back to my product owners and functional consultants, and I asked them, how many user profiles or user personas you see in our business? They pulled out a list of around, I think, 48 or 50-ish, and they said across all the components, marketing, finance, sales, across all, we had around 50 user personas, like finance admin, project controller, sales core expert, lead generator, and some more. And each of them had their own business flow, like 5 to 6 steps. So something starts in the beginning, identification of a lead, and then, well, an opportunity won or lost, and based on that, it moves on to the finance to create an account in the background, and then create an invoice, et cetera. So there are multiple user profiles being involved for the entire business journey. So when we got hold of this entire user profile, the next step was to see what was their journey. Now this, what you're seeing, is an example of a sales lead, what their journey is. When I took it to the data team, they said, all right, if you map it, and if we look at the heat map of the applications, I think 85% of the users take this journey. If anybody with the role sales coordinator enters into the system on a day-to-day basis, their job is this. This is how their path looks like. So now we have an idea, okay, if 85% of the sales engineers are doing this, then the other parts like, for example, clone-related opportunities, rarely used. It comes under within the 15%. But we are investing a lot of time in fixing the tests on this scenario. It has been failing, and we are so invested in fixing this. Why is it necessary? We are not adding any value to the user journey there, because 85% of users are following a different journey. There was one point that I forgot to add, that I personally believe no user logs into the system with an idea that, okay, I have my coffee in the morning, I'm sitting in front of the system, I want to break this application. That's not their job. That's not why end users use your application. They use the application to make their life easy. They want to come in, get their job done, go home happy, right? It's only the testers, we are the creatures who enter the application in order to break it. That's us, but not the end users. So, if the automation focuses on ensuring the application runs as is, you are winning the war 90%. The other 10% is a stretch goal for us. We want to ensure there's a scalability, there is application, it's performing really great, and it's not breaking at any point in time. It's fine, right? That is our wish. But when when a user enters the system, their idea is, okay, I have to enter this form, I have to fill in these details, I have to submit this. Once I submit, it should go into the DB. My job is done, I'm happy, I go home. And I have to support this user journey. And that's exactly what we targeted here. Whenever there is a release, whenever there is an enhancement, whenever there is an upgrade, check all the user flows for these user personas, ensuring that it is not disrupted. All the happy flows should work as is. All other boundary value analysis, your that test, this test, negative tests, all later. But our first priority is to ensure their flow is working at any point in time. So our CI/CD build only have happy paths, checking the business flow for every persona is working as is. With that thought process, we reduced the tests a lot. We leaned it down, yeah? So totally there were 1,350 valid business flows identified, but the impactful business flows were only 654, which we again filtered further. If we can achieve the end-to-end tests at the API layer, do it. Skip the UI. But if there are tests where the UI cannot be skipped, only those tests should take the end-to-end through the UI. It was very clear. It was a mandate. So always check if this can go through an API layer. If yes, just do the end-to-end test in the API layer. Otherwise, move it to the UI layer, also include. So in this way, we were able to reduce the number of tests. This is an example of my present company at Kiva. The lead to cash process is something like this. It's already complex if you look at it. But if you click on each of these blue boxes, it further shows more detailed step-by-step process for that particular, for example, maintain customer. What steps goes in there? You can also see conditional statements. Sometimes there will also be loops. So the business process gets more complex. But if I start automating every single conditional statement, every single details, I'm going to fail. My test script is going to blow up, and maintenance becomes difficult. And let's be honest, team will also have floating population. Today, I would have automated few scripts of my knowledge, but somebody else may take my place because I'm ambitious, or I got a better offer, I moved on to the different team. Can be any of these things. And the new person who's walking in have no clue what was the vision that I had when I implemented these tests, right? So test scenarios is, and identifying the test scenarios with a data-backed can help you do a proper decision, and you can put only the test that matters and measure what matters. So from the hammer model, we were able to reduce the tests, lean it down, including the unit tests, thanks to our developers. They worked hand in hand with us. We reduced the unit test to nearly 1,200. Integration tests are on 754. And E2E tests mainly, where is 2,000? Where is 654? It was a great shift. About 60% of the existing framework we were able to reuse. Another 40% is a new work that we had to put in because we kind of did an opportunity cost. What is the time that goes in revamping or creating a new one? If we can create a new one within like an hour or two, we would rather do that. So in that way, 60% we could reuse and 40% was new. Again, from a communication perspective, to discuss with my business and also to register it in their brain, I had to put it in some model so that it's easier for the conversation. So when you see, we moved from hammer model to the trophy model. It looks something like that. And it's really a trophy. It's a winning moment for us. It was working for us. We reduced, we leaned it down. It was more scalable. It was more easier, more atomic and flexible, lighter to run. Okay. So that was a journey of our E2E, how we reduced, how we became more efficient. The another part we had to fix was communication. Ours was not a pure IT company, so not everybody understood every key terminology. We needed different tongues. We needed a business tongue, we needed a technical tongue, we needed sometimes even talk to our project managers, even their tongue. So we have to speak with people with their own tongue to really understand. This is an example of a custom dashboard that we built for our business. They were interested to see how is our progress going, how much of the amount is being used, what is our current backlog, where is the spread of tests now more, what is the team doing, how is the build going, how is the health of the build. So these were the questions they always have. For them, if the build is running 100%, that means, okay, tests are running, everything is being checked, there are no errors, happy applications, happy customers. That's how they used to understand. So we gave all these details into our dashboards, and it was always available on the monitors for the business to see. We went through quite a few challenges. I wouldn't dive too deep into it. It is nothing new or nothing out of the box. All the usual challenges of no documentation, sunset features, unnecessary custom code, the lot of unknown unknowns, because it's a journey of 2.5 years, and so many people didn't know why even they did that 18 months ago. But we went through this whole journey. It was an intense 8 months period. We were working anywhere between 9 to 12 hours to really turn this around. And at the end of it, we were able to do it. We were able to run our tests, show that the automation can be of a help. And our releases became, I wouldn't say very fast, but more confident. When our CI pipeline runs, and if 2 scenarios fail, and if the scenario is related to the finance admin, we know, okay, finance module needs a little bit of more care right now, let's go and check. So we were able to see a particular spot, a particular place where things are needed more care, and make it more efficient. And we could speak in terms of, or quantify it, hey, we are 98% confident that this is going to work. Because, yeah, depending on how our CI pipelines were running, we were able to show a better confidence. So my key takeaway from this journey is we all are in a soup. It's a deeper problem in our test industry, and it's a present problem. I wouldn't go into AI and fancy and MLs and all. I don't know what's going to come in the 10 years, but I sure know if we do not handle what we have in our plate currently, we will anyways be made redundant. We have to bring value. Everything is a business. We are not working for an NGOs. When we are invested in the money, they also look forward for some results out of it. Testing is a creative process. It doesn't work great under pressure. But all we have to do is communicate better, connect better, and then strategize things better. Most importantly, become a thought leaders of yourself and try and get a fresh perspective as much possible, and don't get stuck in the rut. So these are my key takeaways. I hope this my journey and my team's journey can inspire you if you're stuck, or if you see any other teams stuck, and help them give a fresh thought process, and probably take a journey in a different direction, and hope you be successful. Thank you so much for listening to me. Now that tells me you're not sleeping. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. Are you up for some questions as well?
Sure.
Okay, excellent. So, that would have been bad if you said no, actually, so thank you. Okay, so why do so many test automation projects fail within 3 years? What are the main causes?
Yeah. So some of the causes that was mentioned in that report was, first is a bad strategy, the approach that is taken, the top main reason. The second is a floating crowd. Like I said, if it's a long-living team, people will live and come and go, and everybody have their own flavor of implementing things. There are many times why I myself have not agreed with how it was implemented, and then I spend my own personal time in fixing and revamping this, and then building it according to what my need is. So automations fail mainly because there is no vision, sometimes a wrong way of approach. Third is the automation scenarios that is chosen. The idea of testing everything so that I can fire testers one day, that's not going to work. So these are some of the top reasons that you find in that report.
Excellent. I should not switch off my microphone. What would be the first steps for a QA in a team to engage in a change towards this house of quality mindset?
If you have to engage in a house of quality, you need to have a common rhythm. Going back to the Mongolian king, what's his name? I forgot. So he's very famous, right? You got to have a common rhythm in the team. You cannot have team members who say, well, I don't agree with this, so I'll implement my own. We have to work together as a team, share a common vision. That's the first thing. The second, identify the power play in a company. There will be somebody who holds the power, but there will be somebody who is influencing the power, and find somebody who is taking the decision. So in order to implement the house of quality, you also should know how to approach the company in terms of power play and an influence play. Get team together, agree with a vision, have a common language when you speak. Everybody should express a common vision. And that is when the voice gets louder. If each team member is having their own agenda, it's going to fail. That's my opinion on this one.
Excellent, thank you. Without a dedicated data team, what would be the best approach to have test data that doesn't breach compliance, I think that's constraints like GDPR?
What would be the best approach to have test data? So test data, test data in some companies, like in our present company, we copy the test data from the production system. After every release, we do the production copy of the database to the lower systems. And these systems are restricted for few users, especially for EU users. We have some people from India and New Zealand, for them it's not exposed. But when it comes to the test data, depends on which industry you're working. If it is banking, it's more stricter. The breach is more important. I don't know how the data is, sometimes mock data are created. In my company, we copy the production data to the lower systems, like I said. But if the question is about how to get the statistics of this data so that you can come up with the test scenarios, then you have to identify other sources. Maybe product owner, functional consultants, customer support team. These are some of the places that you can have a regular conversations with. I was working in a company called Lito, and they didn't have data team, but they did have customer support team. These customer support do regular engagements with the end users. So they knew the customers in and out. So we built the automation based on the feedback that we used to receive from them. I hope this helps.
I'm pretty sure this helps, right?
I don't see a nod. Either you agree or you disagree, huh? And then I'll know you're listening to me.
Okay, thank you. We got one nod there. Sometimes you can nod a little. It means so much for us, okay? Just a little nod.
Truly, especially after lunch, you know.
Let's test their nods for your next answer. To what extent is it beneficial to automate end-to-end UI testing for a process flow that involves 5 to 10 interconnected systems?
Not worth it. I was in a bank called Lloyd's Banking, And then we had integrations with multiple systems, payment systems, some account systems, some hedge fund systems, some, I don't know, ABC, XYZ systems. And if the spanning of this end-to-end needed 10 integrations, and all these 10 integrations have APIs, some keys, some security keys that needs to be logged in, dependency of when their microservices is running or not, it's too much. I would say, do not automate. Can you do it through APIs? The backend, through the codes? Yes, go for it. UI? Please don't. Never foray into it. That's my experience.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Sowmya. Big applause for this really brilliant mind. Thank you.